People get fired every day, but almost no one expects to lose their job for showing kindness, and almost no one expects to walk back into that same job the very next morning as the boss. But that's exactly what happened to Lena, a quiet young woman who never imagined her entire life would flip in just 24 hours. This is the kind of story that makes you wonder about how people really treat each other when they think no one is watching, and why the right moment of kindness can change everything. Lena wasn't built for drama. She wasn't loud. She wasn't confrontational. She lived by simple rules: show up, work hard, and treat people with respect. Her mother had repeated the same words her whole childhood. Kindness isn't weakness, Lena, it's who you are. Don't let the world take that from you. But the world had a way of testing people like her, especially in places where fairness wasn't exactly a priority. For nearly 3 years, she worked at Maple Street Diner, a small family-style restaurant on the west side of Dayton, Ohio. It sat between a dusty tire shop and an old hardware store that always smelled like lumber and oil. Nothing fancy, nothing special, just one of those places where people stopped for pancakes at 6 a.m. or sat in a booth after a long shift to drink cheap coffee and breathe for a while. A place where regulars were greeted by name, at least if the staff liked them. From the outside, Maple Street Diner looked warm and welcoming, but inside, Lena saw a very different picture. Day after day, she watched her co-workers pick and choose who deserved basic kindness. Jenny, the senior waitress, treated well-dressed customers like royalty and ignored anyone who looked like they worked with their hands. Matt, another server, would walk right past families who looked too tired to tip well, while turning on his brightest smile for business people in neat suits. The rules were silent, but everyone understood them. Some customers mattered. Others didn't. Lena hated it, but she kept her head down. She had learned the hard way that speaking up only made things worse. Once, months ago, she mentioned that a table had been waiting too long. Jenny didn't even look at her when she said, "Sweetheart, no one gets paid extra for caring too much." Everyone around Lena acted like basic kindness was some optional luxury, but Lena didn't have the luxury of causing problems. Her rent kept going up. Her younger sister, Emma, was in community college and constantly struggling with books and food. Their mom worked long shifts at a nursing home and could barely get by, so Lena picked up extra shifts. She sent Emma money without saying a word. She kept quiet when coworkers rolled their eyes at her. She served every customer the same, no matter what. Some nights she went home exhausted, unsure how long she could keep doing this, but nothing, not even the worst days, prepared her for the night everything changed. It was a slow Tuesday evening. The kind Lena didn't mind: no rush, no chaos, no fake smiles forced between tables. She was refilling the sugar dispensers at the counter when the door chimed softly. A man entered. An older black man with calm eyes, steady posture, and clothes that were neat but worn at the edges. Nothing flashy, nothing attention-seeking. But the moment he walked in, hesitation flickered across his face. That faint pause people get when they've been judged. Too many times before, Lena recognized that look instantly. She had seen it on customers who braced themselves before stepping inside, and the staff's reaction confirmed everything. Jenny glanced up, then went right back to scrolling her phone. Matt barely looked at the man before turning away. Not a greeting, not a nod, just cold silence. The man stood there with quiet patience, like he was giving the room one last chance to prove him wrong, and no one moved. Lena felt something tighten inside her. She thought about staying quiet like she always did. One small choice could cost her, she knew that by now. But something in the man's eyes made her step forward. She wiped her hands on a napkin, grabbed a menu, and walked over. "Good evening, sir," she said gently. "Just you tonight." The man met her gaze, and in that moment, something softened in him. Not because she greeted him with joy or enthusiasm, but because she acknowledged him at all. "Yes, just me," he replied. She led him to a booth by the window, the one with a little crack in the seat that most coworkers avoided offering. He didn't seem to mind. "Can I start you with a drink?" Coffee black, coming right up. She poured the coffee herself. Even though Jenny muttered behind her, she's wasting her time. Lena ignored her. She returned to the booth, set the cup down gently, and the man asked quietly, "Are you the only one working tonight?" He didn't mean it literally. He meant, "Are you the only one who sees me?" Lena gave a small, tired smile. Feels like it sometimes. He chuckled softly and opened the menu. "What do you recommend?" Lena thought for a moment. "If you want something comforting, the pot roast is solid. But if you want a personal favorite, the grilled chicken is always good." He raised a brow with a faint smile. "Grilled chicken it is." She wrote the order and headed to the kitchen. She could feel the stares behind her. Jenny whispering. Matt smirking. Even Ron, the manager, peeked out from his office before disappearing again. A quiet warning filled the air, like the pressure before a storm. Lena felt it all. But she didn't know how severe the consequences would be. Until the next morning, Lena barely slept that night. Every whisper, every glance from her coworkers circled in her mind. She told herself she was overthinking. She told herself serving a customer was a normal thing, but her gut kept twisting. When she pulled into the parking lot the next morning, the sunrise barely touched the sky. She walked in expecting the usual chatter. Instead, the room felt wrong. Jenny wasn't gossiping. Matt wasn't joking. Both of them were staring at her quiet, smug, expectant. Then the office door creaked open. Ron stepped out, looking like he had rehearsed this moment. "Lena," he said flatly, "come with me." Her heart sank. Inside the cramped office, he didn't bother sitting. "We're letting you go." The words felt unreal. Lena blinked, searching his face for some explanation. "What?" "Why?" Ron didn't flinch. "It's not working out." She gave a stunned laugh. "Ron, I've been here 3 years. I've never missed a shift. He cut her off by looking away. "Your final paycheck will be ready next week." She understood. He wasn't firing her because she did something wrong. He was firing her because she did something right. And that was something this place couldn't handle. Her throat tightened. "This is because of last night, isn't it?" Ron said nothing. Silence was enough. Lena set her apron on the chair at the doorway. She paused and forced her voice to steady. "You know, this isn't right." Ron didn't even look at her. She walked out. Jenny smirked. Matt pretended to clean a table while watching her suffer. She kept her chin up, stepped into the cold morning air, and walked to her car. Once inside, she gripped the steering wheel until her hands shook. 3 years gone. Her rent, her sister's needs, everything. Her phone buzzed. She almost ignored it. Until she saw the number, unknown. She answered with a trembling voice. "Hello?" A deep, steady voice replied. "Lena, this is Samuel Grant." She frowned. "I'm sorry." "Who?" "The man you served last night." Her breath caught. "Oh, yes, sir." "Is everything okay?" There was a long pause. Then he said something that would change her life forever. "I heard what happened. And I need to tell you the truth. I wasn't just there for dinner." Lena froze. "What do you mean?" "I was there to see how my employees treat people." Her heartbeat stopped. "Your employees?" "Yes, I own Maple Street Diner." And in that instant, Lena's entire world shifted. For a moment, Lena couldn't move. Words felt unreal, floating somewhere between shock and disbelief. "You own the diner," she whispered. "Yes," Samuel said calmly. "And last night, I came in without announcing myself. I wanted to see the truth, not the version managers put on when I schedule a visit." Lena pressed her palm against her forehead, trying to steady her breath. "So you were checking on everyone?" "I was," he answered, "and what I saw was exactly what I feared." Her stomach tightened. She thought of Jenny laughing, Matt ignoring customers, Ron hiding in his office. She thought of the cold silence that greeted Samuel the moment he walked in. "I saw workers who treat customers differently based on appearance," Samuel continued. "I saw a manager who hides from responsibility. I saw a staff so comfortable with disrespect that they didn't bother pretending." Lena swallowed. "So why did you call me?" Samuel let out a slow breath, the kind that held both frustration and purpose. Because you were the only one who treated me like a human being. Lena stared out the windshield, her mind spinning. She didn't know whether to feel relieved or overwhelmed. Mr. Grant, I still don't understand what this has to do with me being fired. Samuel's tone shifted, becoming heavier. Let it happen. Every muscle in Lena's body tensed. You let Ron fire me? I needed to know exactly where he stood, Samuel said. I needed to see whether the problems were shallow or deeply rooted. And when I heard what happened this morning, I got my answer. Lena's throat tightened. So you sacrificed me to test them? I won't pretend it was fair, Samuel replied, but it showed me what I needed to know. What's that? Lena asked quietly. That Ron can't be trusted, and neither can the staff who helped create this toxic culture. Lena stared at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Her eyes were glossy, but not from sadness. This was something else. Anger, confusion, a flicker of hope she tried to ignore. What happens now? She asked. Samuel didn't hesitate. You come back. Lena blinked, stunned. Come back as what? Another waitress? No, Samuel replied firmly. As the new manager, her breath hitched. She gripped the steering wheel tighter, the weight of his words sinking in slowly, like warm water filling a cold room. I don't think I heard you right. You did, he said. I fired Ron this morning. His office is empty as we speak. Lena's mind raced. Jenny's smirks. Matt's eye rolls.
House?
Ron's cold silence. Now she was being asked to replace him. Why me? She whispered. Because you understand the one thing the others don't, Samuel answered. You understand people, respect fair treatment, integrity. That's what a manager needs. It's not someone who hides in an office. Lena looked down at her hands. They were still shaking. I don't know if I can do this, she admitted. You can, Samuel said, and you should. You've already shown me more leadership than the entire staff combined. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting his words settle. She remembered the cold stare Jenny gave her yesterday, Matt's sneer. Ron's complete lack of fairness. Every moment of disrespect she endured suddenly made sense. They never wanted someone like her to rise, someone who couldn't be manipulated, someone who didn't play by their broken rules. If she walked away now, nothing would change. If she went back, everything would. When she opened her eyes again, there was a clarity she didn't expect. Okay, she said softly. I'll do it. Samuel exhaled in a way that sounded almost relieved. Good, come in tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. I'll be there. When the call ended, she sat still for a long moment, her heart pounding with a mix of fear, excitement, and something powerful, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Control. She started her car. Tomorrow, she would walk into Maple Street Diner again. Only this time, she wouldn't be the girl everyone ignored. She would be the person they answered to, and none of them were ready. Lena barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she pictured the diner, the looks on their faces, the silence, the doorway she had walked out of with her head held high because it was the only thing she had left. Now she was walking back in with something she had never imagined having: authority. The next morning, the air was sharp and cold, the kind that wakes you up before coffee does. Lena stood outside Maple Street Diner with her bag slung over her shoulder, staring at the familiar windows fogged by breakfast steam. This place had taken so much from her yesterday. Today, it was giving her a chance she never saw coming. She inhaled deeply and pushed open the door. The scent of bacon and coffee drifted toward her, just like always. Customers chatted softly, spoons clinked in mugs, and everything looked exactly the same. Except the faces waiting for her. Jenny was behind the counter, wiping it down with forced enthusiasm. The moment she looked up and saw Lena, her hand froze mid-wipe. Her eyes widened, then narrowed just as quickly, like she couldn't decide whether to be confused or annoyed. Matt noticed next. He was joking with the busboy, but his laughter died the second his eyes met Lena's. He went stiff, like he'd seen a ghost. Lena didn't rush. She took slow steps toward the counter, letting the moment sink in. Letting them wonder how she dared show her face here, Jenny broke first. What are you doing here? She demanded, folding her arms like a shield. Lena tilted her head, calm and steady. You'll find out. Matt stepped closer, squinting at her like she was playing some kind of trick. "But Ron fired you, did he?" Lena asked softly, not breaking eye contact. Before either of them could say more, the office door opened. Ron stepped out, flipping through a stack of papers, already irritated by something. He didn't see her at first. He was too busy muttering under his breath. "Jenny, I need you to." He looked up and stopped dead. The papers slipped slightly in his hands. "What are you doing here?" he said, slower, harder. With a note of panic he tried to hide. Lena's expression didn't change. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." Ron stepped forward, waving the papers like proof. "You don't work here anymore." "I told you yesterday I believe I can clear that up." The entire diner went silent. Samuel Grant walked through the front doors with the calm confidence of someone who knew everything that was about to happen and wasn't the least bit worried about it. Jenny's face went pale. Matt's jaw clenched. The busboy's eyes widened like he was witnessing a movie in real time. Ron stiffened. "Mr. Grant, sir, what are you?" Samuel didn't even look at him. He walked straight to the center of the room, his voice steady. "As of this morning," he said, "Maple Street Diner has undergone some major staffing changes." Every head turned toward him. Nobody breathed. Ron swallowed. "If this is about yesterday, let me explain. You've said enough." The words hit the room like a hammer. Ron's mouth snapped shut. Samuel continued, his tone calm but razor sharp. "Yesterday I visited this diner as an ordinary customer, and what I saw was unacceptable. Staff members ignoring customers. People being treated unfairly. A complete breakdown in basic respect." Jenny's face crumpled slightly. Matt looked at the floor. Samuel turned toward Lena, except for her. She was the only employee who did her job with integrity. A few customers turned to look at Lena, whispering. Samuel looked back at Ron. "That's why your position as manager is terminated immediately." Ron's face flushed deep red. "You can't, sir. Please, let me. It's done." Ron froze. He looked around the diner, waiting for someone to stand up for him. No one did. Even Jenny avoided his eyes. Samuel straightened. "And as for the new manager?" Every gaze shifted to Lena. Samuel nodded toward her. "It's her." Jenny's mouth fell open. "You're kidding?" Matt looked like he had just swallowed a stone. Lena stood steady, her heart pounding, but for the first time in years. It wasn't from fear. Ron shook his head, angry and desperate. "You're replacing me with her? She doesn't know anything about management." Samuel raised an eyebrow. "She knows more about fairness than you ever did. That matters more than anything else." Ron's voice cracked as he tried again. "I've been here for years." "And during those years," Samuel said, "this diner became a place where respect was optional. That ends today." Ron went silent. Samuel turned back to the rest of the staff. "Anyone who has a problem with Lena's promotion is free to leave." Jenny looked furious, but fear kept her rooted. Matt's lips pressed into a hard line, but he said nothing. Nobody walked out. Lena's voice finally broke the heavy silence. "Looks like we all have some adjusting to do." Jenny glared. Matt glared. But neither said a word, and for the first time since Lena ever set foot in this diner, the room felt like it belonged to her. The shock of that morning didn't fade quickly. Even after Samuel left and the breakfast rush settled, a strange, heavy quiet hung over the diner. People moved, but energy shifted around Lena like gravity had changed. Some eyes held confusion. Others held resentment, but Lena didn't shrink under it. She stood behind the counter, breathing in slowly, letting the moment sink in. Yesterday, she had felt small, disposable, unseen. Today she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Presence. Jenny approached first. Her arms crossed tight, jaw clenched. "So what now?" she snapped. "You gonna tell us how to do our jobs?" Lena met her stare without flinching. "No, I'm going to do mine." Jenny scoffed and turned away, but she didn't argue further. The message had landed. Matt tried to look busy wiping tables that were already clean. But every few seconds, he shot Lena glances, some annoyed, some confused, and some almost fearful. He had built a career on doing the bare minimum and getting away with it. Suddenly the rules had changed. Lena stepped into Ron's old office. The door stuck the way it always had, and she had to pull it harder than she wanted to. When she entered, she felt the weight of the room. Papers scattered. Coffee stains dried into rings. A calendar that hadn't been updated in months. This office wasn't a manager's space. It was a hiding spot. She sat in the chair that had once been a throne for someone who didn't deserve it. And for the first time, she imagined what it could be. A place where decisions mattered. A place where fairness lived. But stepping into that role didn't magically fix anything. Her first week as manager was a test she hadn't asked for, the moment she put up a new schedule. Jenny rolled her eyes so hard it was almost dramatic. Matt made a point of slamming his apron on the counter whenever Lena assigned tasks he didn't like. A few older staff members whispered behind her back, assuming she couldn't hear. She heard everything, but she didn't respond with anger. She didn't need to, because something else happened, to something she hadn't expected. The younger staff, the quieter ones who had always worked in the shadows, started watching her differently. One of the dishwashers, a shy kid named Luis, lingered at the counter one night. "Congrats." "On the promotion," he muttered. Eyes on the floor, Lena smiled. "Thank you, Luis." He swallowed. "Nice to see someone in charge who actually works." Those words settled deep in her chest. Later, during a slow afternoon, one of the busboys, Eli, the same one who had watched the confrontation with wide eyes, finally spoke to her openly. "I didn't think anyone cared about how customers were treated," he said quietly. Lena leaned on the counter beside him. "I do." Eli nodded slowly, as if testing the reality of it. Good, because it was getting really bad around here. Hearing that didn't surprise her. It only confirmed what she'd witnessed for years. But it also reminded her why she said yes to Samuel. Not for a title. Not for revenge. But because someone needed to change the air in that diner, and she was tired of waiting for someone else to try. Still, not everyone adjusted. 2 servers quit within the first week. They didn't give notice. They didn't pack their things quietly. They left with loud complaints about the new girl ruining everything, and this job not being worth the effort anymore. Lena didn't chase them. She didn't beg. She didn't need people who were loyal to a broken system. What mattered was the staff who stayed. Slowly, the remaining employees started listening more, grumbling less, trying harder. It was never perfect, but the energy shifted. Customers noticed too. People who used to be rushed out the door started lingering, smiling at Lena, complimenting how different the place felt. One older woman stopped her one afternoon and said, "This place seems lighter. Feels better in here now. Whatever you're doing, keep going." Lena carried those words with her the rest of the day. But even with the small victories, she knew the biggest test was still coming, because change always looks easy in the beginning. The real test is whether it survives the weeks that follow. And one afternoon, just when she thought things were finally settling, the door opened and Samuel Grant stepped inside again. Not as a customer this time, but as someone ready to evaluate what she had built. Samuel stepped inside the diner with a calm, thoughtful expression, the kind that made people sit up a little straighter without fully knowing why. Lena looked up from the counter where she had been sorting invoices. For a moment, she wondered if today would be another turning point, the kind that either lifted her higher or knocked her flat. She didn't move toward him right away. She let herself take in the scene around her. Luis was restocking napkins without being asked. Eli was carrying dishes with more confidence than when she first met him. Even Jenny, who still carried a leftover edge of pride, was focused on her customers, not her phone. Matt was quieter, more disciplined. Not fully transformed, but not the same person who used to snicker from across the room. It wasn't perfect, but it was better, and it was real. Only then did Lena walk toward Samuel. Her step steady. He glanced around the diner slowly, taking everything in: the movement of the staff, the tone of the room, the way customers seemed comfortable instead of tense. His eyes landed on her with an approving softness. "How's everything going?" he asked. Lena placed the stack of invoices down and gave a small, honest smile. "Better than I expected. Harder than I imagined. But worth it," Samuel nodded. "Good. That's how you know you're doing it right." He walked further in, observing the morning energy. "You've made some changes." "I needed to," Lena said. The old way was hurting everyone, customers and staff. People were scared to speak up, and the ones who tried were shut down. We couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. Samuel glanced at a booth where a father and his daughter were sharing pancakes. The little girl giggling as she dropped a strawberry. It's amazing how quickly a place can change when kindness becomes the standard. Lena felt a warmth rise in her chest. "I'm trying to make it feel like a place where people matter, not just some customers. All of them and the employees. They matter too," Lena said firmly. "Some of them just needed someone to believe in them. Others needed boundaries they never had." Samuel's lips curved slightly, as if he'd already known she'd say something like that. "I've been visiting my restaurants for years. I've seen places fall apart from neglect and places transform under strong leadership." He paused, letting the moment hang. "This is one of the biggest turnarounds I've ever witnessed." Lena's breath caught. "You think so?" "I know so," he said. "And I also know that it didn't happen because you wanted power. It happened because you wanted fairness." She looked down for a moment, absorbing those words. She had been questioned, doubted, dismissed for so long. Hearing someone recognize her intentions felt strangely new. Samuel lowered his voice slightly. "Do you want to know the real reason I came in today?" Lena straightened. "Yes. I wanted to see if the person I chose was becoming the leader I hoped she would be." Her heart fluttered with nerves. "And am I?" Samuel smiled. Not a big smile, but one filled with certainty. "You're becoming even more—" Just then, a customer near the door called out, "Miss, could I get a refill?" Before Lena could move, Jenny stepped forward. "I got it," she said quickly, without attitude this time, without hesitation, and without rolling her eyes. "Just doing her job." Samuel watched the moment closely, as if it proved everything he needed to know. "That," he said softly, "is what leadership looks like. Not just what you do, Lena, but what you inspire." The words settled deep, like they belonged to a part of her that had been waiting to be seen. Lena looked around the diner again. The place wasn't perfect, but it was healing. People were trying. Respect was slowly becoming the default, instead of the exception. She never thought she would be the reason a place like this changed. She never thought one small act of kindness, one simple choice to help a man everyone else ignored would rewrite her entire life. But it had, and maybe that was the point. Sometimes the smallest moment becomes the spark that lights everything else. Samuel gave one final nod. "I'm proud of what you've done here. Keep going." He started toward the door, but before he stepped out, he turned back. "And Lena, yes, if you ever doubt your strength again, remember this place." She swallowed softly. "I will." When the door closed behind him, Lena stood still for a moment, letting the weight of the journey settle. The girl who had walked out of this diner with nothing now stood at the center of a place she had rebuilt from the inside out. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She wasn't someone people overlooked. She wasn't someone scared to speak or scared to lead. She was the one who changed the story. A new customer stepped inside, and Lena smiled warmly, naturally, effortlessly. "Welcome. Sit anywhere you like." And as the diner buzzed around her with a lighter, brighter energy, Lena finally understood doing the right thing doesn't always pay off right away. But when it does, it transforms everything. If this story moved you, remember this kindness has more power than people give it credit for. And sometimes, it's the only thing strong enough to rewrite a life.